Hi, Gino. How are you?
Hey, Donal, how you keeping?
Great to see you. How are
You
things? Have
too?
you?
I'm working technology. I can't believe it.
Well, we're live now. We're live
Uh-oh.
on the Belfast TradFest Instagram channel as part of this Insta Live series that we've done with some amazing musicians such as Marnie Curran from the band and Céad Blunella, Brian Finnegan from the band Fluke, and both and Céad Blunella and Fluke will perform in the Mandela Hall on Saturday, the 2nd of August. We also had Mike McGoldrick last week, the great Mike from Manchester, the great flute player, uilleann piper and whistler, and he's performing with his big band. But I'm really delighted to have you on, Gino. You'll be performing with Four Men and a Dog.
In
Um,
Mandela, yeah, the Saturday show. That's a great time for a gig. Saturday
yeah,
afternoon. We
very
had good
excited
fun
about it.
there the last time. Big fun.
Yeah, it was a brilliant show, and it drew out a lot of people from all around Ulster. I think because people like the notion of going up to Belfast on the train or the bus or whatever,
Yeah,
having a
good
few drinks,
times.
catching the Four Men and a Dog gig, going out for a meal, and then having the rest of the night to go to the pub and do what, stay in a hotel or jump on the bus, jump on the train. So it'll be more of the same, I'm sure.
I hope so. Yeah, it's. I really enjoyed it, and hanging out with you this week. From you were talking about the Watson there. What? It was a great night's crack. Great night's crack.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
really
good
was a
fun.
great night's crack. We had a great launch, and we had a great crowd turnout. Lots of interesting people showed up, and the word has been spreading since. Which is what you put a lot of work into these things to bring together a lot of artists, a lot
Yeah,
of press and
like as I
media.
yeah, but as
We
I was saying in the interviews you and I did, Donald, you and your team deserve so much credit for the energy levels that you that you're in. I had to come home and sit down in a dark room after after I finished with you.
dark room and a wet lettuce.
I
Yeah, and
went,
you and I had a great day the next day where we went around the radio stations. We were in BBC Radio Ulster, and we were in.
oh,
Um,
yeah.
Q Radio. We
You
were in New 105.
downtown, yeah.
You were in downtown. And we just had a lot of fun. We had lots of laughs. And like, it's something I always find when I'm in your company, Gino, anything can happen.
Well, sure, Donald. I don't plan anything. I know first. It's like when I do gigs with Tim Eady and Dermot Byrne. We know the first tune, and after that, it could be anything.
Yeah, yeah.
One night in Derry, we finished up playing Disney tunes. So
I'm not surprised.
no,
I'm not
that
surprised.
it's, but no, it's just I've known you since you were a wee boy.
Indeed. Yeah.
Gee, my God, I'm as I get older now, I'm becoming what did my friend call me? The elder statesman of traditional music.
Well, look, I didn't get given a proper bio there for you, so I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to embarrass you while you're here online. So, like, you've played with the group Four Men and a Dog for, is it almost 40 years, Gino?
37 years.
37 years, yeah. That's an incredible achievement in of itself. You've
Yeah,
recorded with the likes of Sinead O'Connor,
yeah,
Shane McGowan,
yeah,
Rick Danko, and
yeah,
Gareth Hudson,
yeah,
and Levon Helm from the band. And for
yeah.
those of you out there who don't know who the band were, can you tell us who the band were, do you know?
The band. Well, the best way I can describe it for you, Donald, is watch The Last Waltz. It's a rock and roll film, and it was just it. Eric Clapton wanted to join the band because he thought he had found the missing link, and we were offered four gigs. We were offered a gig in Hong Kong. We were offered a gig in the Isle of Man. We were offered a gig in Norway with the band, and we were offered another gig somewhere. And Kevin and I and Jerry O'Connor said, "No, let's go to Haugesund in Norway and do that." And it was just I don't know. It was surreal because I had seen these people. I'd watched this for years and known the songs and stuff, and they were all my hotel room drinking my minibar for about 80 100 pound.
So, like, essentially, the Last Waltz is a kind of a music doc live gig. Robbie Robertson is kind of the main figure, I
Yeah, well,
suppose, in the
Robbie,
band.
yeah. The
And
man that saved it, the man that saved it, and Levon told me this out of his own mouth, was Van Morrison.
yeah,
He said it was going on. It was Thanksgiving Day, and they had a full turkey dinner and the whole thing in the Winterland in San Francisco. It was going on for hours and hours, and people were just dropping like flies. And Mr. Morrison came on and kicked everybody in the ass and said, "Right, this is how we do it."
Yeah, from what I remember, he was wearing like pink or
A
purple
purple
leggings.
jumpsuit. That's what I'm getting for the TradFest.
And he kind of, Van Morrison came on the stage with this incredible energy, started
Oh,
kind of kicking the monitors,
mm-hmm.
like giving it absolute socks, and it woke the gig up.
Absolutely. And then, well, as he was leaving it, he was walking out and on the outro, and he was kicking his wee leg. God love him. It was. But when me and Kevin, when we lived in England in the UK, and Kevin came down to London where I was at, we'd watch it maybe 3 times in a row,
Yeah.
and every time we'd find something different.
It's like one of those iconic films like Whitnell and I,
Yep.
or um, yeah, there's certain films you just return to, and it's one of those. How did it come about, Gino? Like, how did you end up playing with
We
the?
we we had an agent in Huggeston, and we had met him in Tuner, and he, fan, and he says, "Come out," and we said, "Yeah, yeah, I'll get you this." And then this gig came, the offer of the gig with the band, so we said absolutely, and we were and it was a huge marquee. They were in the middle of a tour, and I remember, and Kevin Doherty will verify this. We were just standing, and there's Gareth Hudson, and there's Leon Helm, and there's Rectangle. And Gareth Hudson was walking down past us, and I said to Gareth, "Could I get a photograph?" And he went, "Yeah, sure." So I handed him my camera and put my arm around Kevin and says, "Whenever you're ready, Gareth." You're a funny guy. So that was the ice broke, and then Levon, when he was leaving my room, said, "You guys should come." And we were all set. We had a record deal signed with Proper, and we were going to a studio somewhere in England. And Levon said, "You should come to the studio in Woodstock. It didn't do Muddy Waters any harm." So he gave me his address and his phone number, and the boys gave him a ring, "See, can we go?"
Amazing,
And that's where we went.
amazing. So that was
Two,
a kind of
two albums.
that's a high point in the mid part of your career. So maybe we go back a few steps,
Oh,
maybe right back to the very start. So
don't
like
give him.
first of all, your
Don't give.
surname Lupari,
Oh, that far back.
that far back.
Italian. Like that's what at the Watson the other night. I was completely. Like I was Frederick Street, 3 streets over, and the floor in that Watson is what my grandparents and father and uncles did, all the terrazzo and the marble, and it was just beautiful. Everywhere I go, I always try and get a look at the marble and the floors, and look.
You have a
But
brother who still does terrazzo
Tony, my
floors.
brother
Tony,
Tony, yeah, he's
yeah.
still at it.
So
But I
how
served
did
my
your
time
how did
at
your
it.
family how did the Luparis come to be in Belfast?
The Lupari used to be in Belfast. My granny and her sister, my granny was she was the strong one. She was the pearl behind the throne, and she and her sister Nellie used to come up from Dublin on the train, smuggling a wee bit of, a few nylons and a bit of cheese and a bit of milk and stuff. And my grandfather, he had been lifted and was in the Isle of Man, as far as I'm aware. I think it was the Isle of Man. And then when he got out, they went to Dublin, but my granny said, "No, we're going to Belfast."
What
And
was what was he lifted for?
because he was an Italian, and they got out of Italy. They all the Fuscos and the Morellis and the Luparis and all went from the same village in Italy, outside Bologna.
But why was he
And
lifted?
because he was Italian, and they had Mussolini had hung his hat with Adolf,
Okay.
and that
Okay.
was they were interned, and
So
then
they were lifted by the Allied forces.
uh, but well by the UK, I suppose.
Yeah.
And my granny and my aunt and my great aunt, they used to bring stuff up from Dublin, and then they moved into Frederick Street in Belfast, and all the Fuscos and the Morellis, Johnny Morel, and all those boys used to just be about there all the time. And my granny then, how we got to Marfelt was towards the end of the war. My father was born, and because he was a babe in arms and Hitler was bombing Belfast every night, they were born on Holland and Wolf. They got put out into the country because he
Okay.
was such a small baby. And I remember my granny telling me stories about there's a place in Maherfell called the Fair Hill, which is the highest part of the town. And she said we used to walk up there at night and watch the bombs going off in Belfast. And they lived. They were. Well, I can't remember what it was. A small shop in Maherfeld, and they were billeted there. And my father was born, and he came out there, and then met my mum. Went to school, and that they travel. He travelled in every day to Belfast to school, and then after 6 months, my granny found out that he was working in a snooker hall. I'd been to school in 6 months.
Well, you know where we were the other night, the
Yeah.
Watson.
Uh,
That used to be a snooker hall.
I'm telling you, I felt completely at home there. I felt as if I'd been there. Honest
Wow,
to God, I was really it just sort of knocked me right on the head, and the building was just beautiful, and I felt some sort of weird connection to it. I think, really,
amazing. Listen, there's
really.
a few comments coming in here. Dub in Donegal says, yes, Gino. Hi from 9 hazel trees in Buncrana and Uganda. Um,
John Cutliff.
Ramaskite Garada says, hey, Gino. Lucas says hi. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
that's one of my students from Dungannon.
Oh, very good. And B. Watson says, looking in from Glasgow, happy to join. And if anybody has any questions at any stage, please just fire them in. You can just stick them in the comments there in the question section, and we'll get to them. So, Gino, you're growing up then in Maherfeld.
Yeah.
What's your earliest recollection of coming across traditional music?
Oh, I remember it as if it was yesterday. I was doing now. I'm going to show you my age. I was doing GCSE or CSEs, the forerunner for O levels, and I was doing an English paper, and the English teacher had. We were all sitting in the class, and she brought out an LP,
Right,
and she put the LP on, and it was the Chieftain's Trip to Sligo.
right.
And we had to write something that moved, something that what the music was moving us to, or what it was saying to us. And I wrote the essay, and then I asked the teacher, could I have the record? And she says, well, you can have it for a couple of days, but I need it back. And my uncle, my father's brother, was a very, very enthusiastic banjo and mandolin player. He loved the Dubliners and loved, the ballads. And I was working for him in the summer, doing jobs. And we went to Lisnaskea to a butcher's to put up this marble wall. And my uncle said, ask him, he'll make you a set of bones. So I sat in the back of the work van with about half a dozen rib bones, scraping all the meat off them. And he told me, no, you have to boil them. You have to do this and that. So my uncle showed me how to get a rhythm. And then I was working for him in Bundoran. And he was this is 14, 15. And we were working there. And he says, look, I've got a holiday booked. I'm away. So he says, can you stay and do the job? I says, yeah, I suppose. And as a thank you, the owner of the place I was working took me down. Is it Fitzgerald's music shop in Bundoran, the bottom of the town? Uh, he bought me a bodhrán as a gift, and then he would be coming in every day to see how I was getting on. But I was sitting on a bag of cement, learning how to play. No work done.
And you're
And
talking there about the bones. Like you and I kind of assume that people know what that is and
oh,
what it
sorry,
looks and
yeah,
sounds
of
like.
course.
Like the bones are actual bones from an
Bones,
animal,
they're sheep's ribs.
sheep's ribs,
Yeah.
and you boil them. You take the skin, the flesh
You
off them.
boil them, and then all the gluten and all that stuff comes out. Then you scrape them,
Yeah.
then you sand them, and then you bury them.
Do you have a
And
set handy there?
No, I don't actually. I don't. No, the bones I got given to me by a monk in Portland Owen Monastery were taken off me in Canada. I do, my bodhrán and all my bag is in the car.
When I was growing up, like almost most sessions would have had a bone player appear at some
Oh,
stage,
absolutely,
and it's
absolutely.
a it's something you very rarely see nowadays. You know.
Oh no, Donald, this is for Mr. Donald Murphy, another compatriot. He begged me to adjudicate the World Bones Championships in Abbeyfield. Begged me, and I said, Donald, look, he says, do it. Look, you'll help me out. So I think I says, all right. So I'm sitting in Lean's hotel having a pint, just and this boy comes up and he says, "You're the adjudicator." I says, "I am." He says, "Well, I'm the reigning champion. I'm the reigning champion this last 5 years." I said, "Oh, good man. Can I buy you a pint?" And I said, "You know what? You're grand." And the poor man, that year it sort of spread a little bit, and there's a guy I know him well now, a good friend, Stephen Brown, from outside Boston. And Stephen came over, and it was just he was doing like a syncopated stuff in one hand and reels and jigs in the other, and it was just
Amazing. Well,
so.
you mentioned Stephen there from Boston. There's a Callum Bell on here. He says, "I can't wait for Belfast TradFest. Every trad musician from Boston will be there." And he says, "My dad gave me his old set of bones last year." Like
Wow,
I'd love to hear more bones playing in the sessions. The only bones player I know in Belfast is the brother Maguire.
there's the brother playing.
He brings them out and he puts them on the table
Yeah.
at every session, and rarely would he give them a go. I think the bones probably got a bad name at some stage.
Well, yeah, yeah, because of the spoons.
Oh, the spoons are to
The
blame, are they?
odds. And then do you remember there'd be sessions, Donald, and the next thing the boy would be with a 50p or something tapping the bottle,
Yeah.
and then he'd be turning the boy around and
I
but
remember at the Flas, there'd always be some boy would come in late into a session, and he'd kind of hover on the fringes, and then he would take out of his inside jacket pocket this kind of piece of wood, and he'd have the lids of three different sized snuff boxes glued to the wood, and then he'd take out a set of drumsticks and
oh
he'd be playing
jeez.
away.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a student in McGee, I went to this session one day in Derry, and there was me, another bodhrán player, a piper, and another bodhrán player. And so I said, I'm not going to play. So this boy came in with a guitar case. I says, at least we'll get a couple of songs. He opened the guitar case and took out a bodhrán.
Yeah. Like the boron Gino has had mixed response. Like if you go right back, the origins of the boron are somewhere as a kind of an agricultural implement
Oh yeah,
that eventually then became like a tambour or a tambourine, and there'd be a lot of old Sligo flute players would have played with hand playing boron players,
yeah.
and then Sean O'Riordan probably was the first to make it popular.
He's guilty. Yeah.
Yeah,
But Fenton Valley, Fenton?
I
He has
do.
just written a book about the bodhrán. Him and a photographer landed at my house one day for photographs and quotes and stuff. And the book's out now, I believe. But Fenton did all the research, and as far as I remember, he thinks there's an Italian connection to it.
Oh, very interesting. Well, he did. He launched the book at the Trad Fest last year. It's a talk that I didn't get into see myself, but like O'Riordan would have first popularized it or brought it to the public imagination, and then Padre Mercier
Oh yeah, and
in the
Mel's
Chieftains.
still pushing the envelope with it.
And
Uh,
Padre's son, Mel Mercier, is a
yeah,
brilliant boron player and
he's a great
bones
player.
player. And some people might know him from Micheál O'Sullivan's work, Windbrook,
Yeah,
and those kind of
and
recordings.
he's done a dance show, I think, at the minute or something. He's
Yeah,
done
Mel,
something.
Mel, Mel was up teaching Bourne at the Trad Fest a couple of years ago. A really brilliant ethnomusicologist and
Yep.
musicologist and a brilliant musician. And then I suppose the person who really took the Boron on in the 70s and gave it great fame and notoriety was Johnny Ringo
Ah,
McDonough.
we, Cal Hayden and I used to play a session in Strabane on a Saturday, and we would drive down to Galway to Spittle to play the tune with Frankie and Johnny and Alec Finn, the next the and Mary Bergen and Brady Hughes.
Oh yeah, and Spittle. Yeah.
Oh God! And Johnny Ringo was just like, I remember uh, trying to work out what he was doing, like, because
What was he
uh,
doing?
it was just streets ahead of any, like Potter Mercer or anything like that, and I had never. He was starting to use it with tonal stuff, rather than just make a rhythm. He was actually starting to get tones and notes from it. And
Yeah.
the big one was Hey Jude, when the Byron, the 36th or the 32nd Byron solo at the end, and his Bones playing and his Byron playing were super, super. And I remember just sitting in Artie McGlynn's house one night with him and Frankie and Artie and Nollig and Cahill, and just it was just something special. It was, and he's such a lovely man. There's no airs or graces with him. If he can help you, he helps you.
Yeah.
There's none of this. I don't want to talk to you. I'm this.
So who was the first born player you came across?
The first Byron player I ever came across was in the main street in Dungiven. I thumbed up from Maherafelt to the Dairy Fly in Dungiven, and the first person I met was Seamus O'Kane.
The great Seamus O'Kane.
It's great, and he's been a mentor, a father figure, just everything to me. He means everything. And he says, "Where are you going?" I says, "Well, I've got a Byron here, and I didn't even have a bag for it. I didn't even have a bag for it." And I walked up. I says, "I'm looking for the competitions." And he says, "Come with me." And I found out his name, and he found out mine, and we went to the school, and he got somebody to play for me, and he sat in the background and says, "Right, okay, this could work," and I won it. And then and then he says, "We're going to Murphy's to play tunes," and that was my first flat ever. So I was, thinking I'll get back onto the Glen Shane and go home. Not at all.
And Murphy's Bar in Dungiven played a
Was
significant role in
Yes,
your life, not just on that occasion.
and on the Dogs, that was the Dogs' first gig, and the first poster was done by Seamus, and it was, we were up there, and Brian, myself, Dónal, Mick Daly, and Cahill. Brian
Brian
McGrath,
McGrath.
Dónal Murphy, Mick Daly, the original Black Dog, Cahill Hayden, and myself, and we were like, Mick was a hardened professional, but the four of us, we're actually going to play here now, and what are we going to play? So don't worry about that. We'll just play, because Cahill and Brian and I had been traveling in Cahill's car all over the country playing, and it was just, we knew what we were doing, but we couldn't tell you what it was.
Yeah.
There was something going on, and then Cahill and Mick they joined Arcady, and
Okay.
then there was too many people in that, so Cahill and Mick said, "Let's start a band," and that was it. It was downhill from that.
And what did people think of Four Men and a Dog when you first started?
the, the biggest gig we did Murphy's, and we did Lavey Football Club up here, and then we did the Belfast Folk Festival, and that's the first day I met Martin O'Connor, and he was playing with some of the boys from the Saw Doctors, and we played, and I suppose they'd never heard anything like it. I think
What were you doing?
we were just, Mick was doing them, the songs that we did record on Barkin' Mad and Americana sort of thing. And then we had the traditional end with Brian Cahill and Dónal locked down, and they just let me tear away with whatever I wanted to do. I've always I've always had free reign with the Dogs, but
And
I don't know what I'm doing half the time.
what was the intention? Do you know? Like what did you intend to do?
Play a bit of music. I was going as a mature student. I was going to McGee, and I was going to do a degree. and it just, let's play this. And then we went down to the Rotterdam the next night, and there was more tunes, and people were saying, God, that was great, and you boys should really, do this and get an agent and play there. And it just sort of it snowballed. We didn't think any further than the Belfast Folk Festival, and I don't even know what year that was.
And do you remember the feeling of coming off the stage after those gigs?
Oh, well, I remember me and Cahill coming off, and that was the time when we were drinking pints. Well, I was drinking pints and having the crack. My T-shirt was stuck to me, and the nose was just all dripping with sweat and stuff. And me and Cahill were sort of drying ourselves with the last clean T-shirt. And I remember saying to myself, "Geez, I sort of like this. I like this." And then just straight into the bar and playing tunes, and it was always it was always very strange when people came up and said to you, "God, that was great," because we'd been doing that with Brian and Dónal and for years, just playing tunes.
So your local heroes at that stage, you're making a name for yourselves locally. How
Well,
do you break?
Cal
How,
as you know, is a phenomenal musician, and he was sort of like the child prodigy. If he was a chess player, he'd be Bobby Fischer or something.
yeah, yeah.
But he had got known, and he was well known in the sort of scene, if you want.
Yeah.
But me and Brian, and they were all, and Brian was from Brookburn, Fermanagh, and they were all sort of names in and around where they lived, all Ireland champions and dancers and players. Then there was me from Marfeld.
And what was it then propelled Four Men and a Dog to the next stage? Like how do you break out of Belfast and out of Ulster?
uh, we, what did we do? We did a gig. Oh, we did the Cambridge Folk Festival. Now, and
That's a biggie.
I nearly carried the head of Janice Ian. I opened it at that time in Cambridge Folk Festival. You stayed your changing room was a caravan. So I was coming out after drinking a few beers, and I opened the door like that, and poor Janice Ian, who's only 2 foot nothing and soaking wet, I carried the head of her to the door. She walked into the door. But it was great. We were playing on the smaller stages, and at that stage I was getting people up to dance and to jump up out and to react to what we were playing, and it just sort of the powers of beasts says maybe we should put these boys on the main stage for 20 minutes or half an hour, and then that's when we got a bigger audience and a bigger audience, and then we held the connections, and then we had that, and then we signed with the record company with Energy Orchard, and the Tansats we signed with Proper, and that was good crack.
What
We
did
did
that entail, Gino? What did signing to a
well.
record company entail back then?
Well, they were talking. That I was living in London at that stage now, and we were, we were doing maybe 25 gigs in a row, and then the next thing, the next thing we were on BBC Radio or London TV or stuff, and it started to create something, a
Yeah.
buzz, and then people were saying, that they could see it with us, between us, and then I think Mick didn't really want to tour anymore. He thought it was a good idea. We went to Finland and did that. But when we started to get busy, he said, no, don't want to do it. So I had been friendly with Kevin Doherty, Kieran Turish, Dermot Byrne, and Cahill had known Kevin as well. So I said, lads, I think maybe some original songs, and Kevin Doherty would be the man.
So the musicians you've named there. That's a gang of musicians that were hanging from sort of Buncrana
Yeah,
direction,
all Buncrana.
Ennishowen, up
Hmm.
that northwest, and there was a
Yeah.
whole scene up there, Gino.
Oh, didn't he? And Liz Doherty, and
Vinnie McLaughlin.
that guy John Cutliff, who just had written it. there was great music up there. And Dermot, Dermot, another child prodigy, and
Derek Byrne, yeah.
yeah, and we would go up to Leo Rudden's, me and Cahill, and we'd go up to play a tune on maybe a bank holiday, and then 2 days later we'll still be playing tunes.
I'm getting a sense there's a thread here as to why things happen or why connections are made. You and Cahill would just jump in the car and drive. You maybe
Yep.
hadn't two beans to rub together, but you had
No,
instruments
absolutely.
and you would just go places.
Hmm. Well, the thing people say about the longevity of the band, and I always it's a friendship first. I've known Cal for 50 odd years,
Yeah,
and we've been through everything. And he knows me better than I know myself, and I know him better than he knows himself.
yeah,
It's that bond. And then with Dónal and Kevin and Jerry Banjo, when he pulled in, it was an unbreakable, and we still talk regularly. Even Jerry Banjo, and we still have we talk about football. Or our big one was when we were doing big tours was culinary expertise, menus and things like that.
yeah.
But it's a friendship thing, Donald.
Well, there's something too about being in a band, and I know this myself from being in At First Light and different bands, that you have a camaraderie and a kind of a we're here no matter the circumstances. So you might be traveling through the worst circumstances in an airport
Absolutely.
where you've missed three flights and you're begging for flights and you've lost half your baggage and you arrive without your guitars or bodhrán gets lost or
Yep.
but you arrive at a venue and the
But
sound
you're
might
with
be
you're with five people that have your back,
yeah, it's a
and
team.
it's one of us, or one of us, or all of us. That's the way it is.
So in terms of being on the road with the dogs, like you've played in over 30 countries.
Oh,
You've
certainly
done
that we can remember.
almost 1,000 gigs. I read somewhere. A
Must
few, a few, a few lineup changes, but ultimately at the core of it all was yourself, Cahill, Dónal,
Mhm.
and the latest lineup is yourself, Cahill, Dónal, Kevin Doherty, and Stephen Hayden, Cahill's
Steve,
brother.
when
I've lost your audio there for a wee second, Gino.
uh, Jerry had the chance to play with Joe Bonamassa, the guitar player,
Yeah,
and it was a world tour, and none of us were going to stand in his way to do that. Like, and what about the band? And we always, sometimes Stephen jumped up if we were near home, and it seemed like the natural progression. Stephen, fine fiddle player, fine fiddle
brilliant
player.
fiddle player.
And
And
then
he had
then
been in Upstairs in the Tent with Brian
up
Finnegan.
with Brian, that's right. We used to see them in Sweden all the time, and then we have James Delaney and Nicky Scott as well sometimes.
Amazing. So
No,
Nicky Scott was Van Morrison's MD for 5, 6 years,
yeah,
maybe more.
and James Delaney was Paul Brady and Mary Coughlin and Van Morrison. And
James is a great jazzer, of course.
oh boy, great musicians.
Yeah,
But we always had fun. We always had fun.
yeah.
And I remember, like you touched on it earlier, like we would be in Germany I remember we were in Germany for 3 months on one tour, and there was the week off, and I said, or maybe Cal says, what about going home? And we said, yeah, that'd be an idea. And the German agent says, why? Like the highlight of them tours, Donald, were finding out a laundromat and finding somewhere to do
Well,
your clothes.
it was a different thing to be touring then because like A, you needed carnets to get across borders. There was no
Yeah,
EU
yeah,
open border policy. B, you sometimes were carrying a PA with you.
yeah.
C, there was no such thing as Google Maps. So you were taking out a map, asking for directions, stopping at every crossroads and every
Ah, brilliant.
T junction,
Mhm.
and arriving late for sound checks because you'd missed a turn and end up in the wrong country.
But that's that. We hired a van from a company. I'll not name them in Dungannon to do a European. Like I mean, it was 3.5 months in Germany and Rudolstadt and East Germany and all that there. and we just drove the shit out of the van. Like it was dying. It died. And in Rudolstadt, we were pushing it to get it started. And we got it started. Rudolstadt was a big, big festival in East Germany. And we got it started and we were driving to Berlin. And I remember with in the Brandenburg Gate, the bus, the minibus died. And all of us boys were out, and Hayden was in the front of her driving. We were pushing it through the Brandenburg Gate.
Not too many people can say that.
No, but it was, and it has taken us. We played at the Olympics, and it's taken us everywhere. And no matter where we've been, we always leave everything on the stage.
Yeah, and I think to be fair, like when we go back to the early days of 4 Minute Dog, what made the band stand apart, in my estimation, Gino, was your engagement with the. Obviously, the music was just amazing. So there was like a new sound. Brian McGrath on banjo, Cahill
And
on
piano,
fiddle,
yeah.
playing a very high tempo, brilliantly arranged sets of tunes, but with a kind of an infusion of maybe Texan swing and Cajun and
Yeah, yeah.
Americana, because the guys were listening, you were all listening to different
Hmm.
music. So that would have been different in of itself. Then you had on the records, particularly Artie McGlynn bringing
Oh,
a real driving guitar to the thing. You had you on bodhrán, but also on stage live, you bring great presence, great interaction with the audience, great fun, great humor, and
I
that
remember.
that wasn't always the case with lots of bands in the Irish
Well,
music
I
world.
remember like seeing bands, and in one of the interviews we did last week, I was talking about the Chieftains and Alton and Dervish, and they're great musicians and great players, and but at the early days of all that, it was all hand on the ear and singing and be quiet now, and this is, and I always thought it was entertainment, to give it that lift, just that. I remember Jerry O'Connor and I had this talk when he was doing a lot of corporate work. He says a lot of people just walk on the stage. They don't even say good evening or how you doing. We're here to entertain you. Sit, relax, and. And you don't realize that people are, they've spent 20 or 30 quid to hear you playing. They don't care if you've been stuck in traffic for 10 hours. You're there for them to play. And that was always the thing. We always left it. And just reaching out and being approachable was
Yeah.
something that a lot of people weren't doing.
Yeah, and all of that said, the brilliant music, the brilliant arrangements, the brilliant interaction. Was there what way did the traditionalists take 4 Minute Dog when you
Oh,
first came?
no, no, no. Oh, no, no. No, no, no. Don't be tough. Too fast. There was sometimes at the Flies or something we'd be playing, and the word would be out, especially on the Stool and the Three Mermaids and boys from the north are up there, and it was me, Brian Cahill, Donal Murphy, and other musicians from Tyrone and whatever, and we were just playing it as fast as we could, and boys were coming in. And that was the time, Donal, remember when you were playing it at the Flies and Sessions, everybody had a tape recorder.
Yeah.
About the size of your phone, and the odd banjo aficionado or fiddle aficionado or accordion would take Donal and Cahill and Brian, and but when it got too fast, we'd click it off. We were like, but that was because as musicians listening to the Dannon and listening to Frankie and the power and the strength and the energy that he has, you know, to this day, by the way, I may add.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't take too. Come on, look, them boys play too fast. Come over here.
Well, in my so I arrived in Belfast around 96, September 96, between the two ceasefires. And I met with Rory O'Kane, Seamus O'Kane, the aforementioned Seamus
Oh, I
O'Kane's
know
son.
Rory well too.
And we would have ended up a bit like yourself and Carl, jumping in the car and heading off to different flats and different weekends. The Frankie Kennedy up in
Yeah,
Gweedore and different county flats, the Tyrone flower, that I remember great Derry flats in Ballinascrania, and sets of tunes that would have formed a central part of a lot of those sessions where I subsequently found out Four Men and a Dog
Yeah,
recorded tunes. So tunes from the Barking
Barking
Man
Mad,
album,
Shift Gravel. Yeah,
tunes from the Shifting Gravel
yeah.
album, tunes from the Dr. A's Secret
When
Remedies
we went,
album.
when we went to Shetland, our first visit to Shetland to the folk festival, I thought Bono had arrived. There was all these, you stayed with people. They wanted you to be part of the community.
Yeah,
And there was about 5 fiddlers waiting on Cahill coming off the boat.
yeah,
And everybody had the tape
yeah,
of Barking Mad.
yeah.
And all have you been to the Shetlands?
I haven't. No, never.
The Lyric is a famous bar there, and it's the big tune bar. And we'd go in there, and it was just like every one of them were playing, the swing set or Lucy Camp. It was wild.
I
And
remember like one
they
of the
just
sets.
followed Cahill about.
Yeah, one of the sets of tunes that would have been a big one was the Easy Club
The
Reels.
Easy Club, yeah, that was a Scottish tune.
Yeah, there was a band called the Easy Club, wasn't there?
Yeah, they were.
John Martin.
Jim Sutherland, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Jim was great.
And
But
so
no,
doing that, Gino, would have set you apart because not too many other Irish bands would have been taken in. Like, okay, Scottish music forms a big part of our music. Of course, you mentioned Lucy Campbell's
yeah,
Real There or Bonnie Kip. But I'm talking about contemporary Scottish music at the time. So that band, Easy Club, were doing something very different with the music.
exactly, yeah. But again, that come from Artie. Like I do, this is true as God. I remember walking into Mud Wallace's studio, and I'd been there a few times with different bands, just as an onlooker. And I remember saying to Brian and Cal, "What are we playing?" And we said, "We don't know. We had no idea." Artie, that was his second home at that time, and he got molded us and knew it was like man management. He knew what we had to do, or he knew what to say to get us to do what he wanted, to think it was our idea.
Yeah. So Artie was like, for those
He
that
was
know,
he was that he was pivotal.
yeah. So Artie was an amazing guitarist from Omagh in County Tyrone. He started out in the show bands.
The
He was in
show bands, yeah.
the Plattermen and the Polka Dots.
Hmm.
Brian Collin, the Buckaroos.
All those boys, and then, but he had been a traditional accordion player
That's right. And he told me he gave up the accordion when his family moved from rural
into
County
the
Tyrone
town.
outside Omagh into Omagh when the land was cleared because the tractor came along and did away with a lot of the migrant labour work that was on the land. So he moved into Omagh and he said when he went up the street at 7 years of age with the Teddy Boys, playing the accordion wasn't cool. So
Wasn't cool.
he packed in the accordion and he took up the electric guitar and so Artie played a big like
Oh, huge
you mentioned Mud Wallace's studio there. So Mud Wallace's
in
studio was a place called
Randallstown.
Homestead Studios in
Yeah,
Randallstown. And it was the first residential studio on the island of Ireland.
really.
Yeah, well that's what Mud used to tell me anyway.
Ah, okay.
And like Artie, it was a kind of a home from Artie because he produced
Yeah,
loads of records there.
everybody, and we recorded Barking Mad on the downtime when the four of us were at the top of their powers. The
With the
band
hit
from Uri,
Mary.
the lads from the Murphys from Uri,
Yeah.
they were at the height of their powers, and we recorded Barking Mad on their downtime.
Okay.
So but it was an experience, and the rap which will follow me to my grave. Artie says we need to do something different. We need to do something different. So he rang Neil Johnson, who was a journalist, God love him, for the
Belfast
Belfast
Telegraph.
Telegraph, and he was a great friend of Artie's and a great friend to the band. On Good Friday, him and I and Artie went up to the studio, and Neil had the bones of it, and he said, "There you go." And I had the different voices in my head, the different characters to play it.
And like that was not normal for a trad band to do a rap. Let's be honest.
It wasn't, but and that there was a thread going through it. I remember the boys were doing a cultist tour, and it was like 30 quid or something each they were getting. But they were going to America and this, and I used to say, "No green jacket for me." I wasn't going to do it for 30 quid. And there's a thread of that right
Yeah.
through some of them. You know, when I'm given carte blanche to do, I always have how you doing, Cultus?
So there's that sense that you sat outside of the sort of the core
Yeah,
of the
well,
tradition.
we did with. It was important for us, I think, when Mick left, that we started to get our own sound, our own songs. And Kevin is a fabulous songwriter and musician, and he was always pushing. You know, him and I weren't really raised on traditional music,
Yeah.
but he is the great draw for us. Like and his songs are like Bloomsday.
Yeah.
I was talking to him about that the other day, and like Papa Jean's Tree, him and Jerry O'Connor woke me up in Stockholm one day and says, "We have a song here for you. What do you think?" And you know, and others. It was just I don't know if I sat and thought about it, Donald, I wouldn't be sure how it worked.
Yeah.
You know, uh,
Well,
it,
Bloomsday, like Bloomsday, that song, obviously the lyric is fantastic and it's referencing Joyce's Dublin and all
yeah,
that. But it has a kind of a, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, like almost like a calypso sort of
yeah.
groove
Oh,
to it.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. That the sun is bright and it's shining. Yeah, ladies in their feather bed and warm beds I'm reclining. That's Doherty for you. You know, just he's either have a pint in his hand or a book, one of the two.
Yeah, he's very well read. But
Very.
there's a joy to that. And when I think of a Four Men and a Dog gig, I think like the words that come to mind are almost like trad cabaret, um, a show, entertainment,
Well,
fun, joy.
it's it's not. I remember Paul Brady thought it was a comedy show in the basement in Australia. Paul said to our agent there, "Is this a comedy show?" He didn't know what it was because like we were slagging everybody, just and the quietest man on the stage is Cal, and the next thing he just whispered in my ear and he just lights a fuse and I'm away again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and you wouldn't even see him doing it,
yeah.
but he's looking around and then bang. But
Well,
it's
Cahill
just
very well understands the value of entertainment and very well understands
oh
the value of giving people a good time. And you know, I actually, in fact, he was playing with the Bow Brothers at our St. Patrick's Festival
oh and the Mac.
in the Mac, yeah. And he said, it was something very funny. He said, if anyone's looking a CD at the end of the show, um, they're sitting in the boot of my car in the car park. And like nobody else would kind of reference that because they might think, "Oh, geez, I forgot the
I
CDs."
forgot the
Whereas
CDs.
Cal understood that might get a chuckle, you know, and it sure
And
did.
but we have like different, yeah. I would pick up on comedians and stuff and saying you made a happy man very old or you've
Yeah,
made
yeah,
an old man very, all stuff like that.
yeah,
Or just, pick on somebody, somebody that would shout something and then I get a dialogue with them. And then I find it relaxes people and lets the boys regroup and say like, and they don't say right, that's it, that's enough. Because Jerry or Kevin will just had a chord now and we know it's time to play.
yeah. Well, look, this hour is just absolutely zipping by, and there's a couple of other things I want to touch base on with you. You have made a solo record.
I did.
Tell us about
I
that.
It's called No Turning Back. I got a grant from the Arts Council, and Liam Bradley, a fantastic drummer and friend from Derry, and he plays with the Dogs a few times. He said, "You should make a record. You should make a record." And then I got this grant from the Arts Council. So I had this money, and then Liam said, "Let's make the record." And I was going, So I was up in his house in Donegal, and he says, "Right, we're doing it." And Paul Casey, Liam, John McCullough, Nicky Scott, Kathy Jordan, Lauren Doherty,
Wow.
McGeehan, what the fellow player, God, what do you call him? I keep forgetting.
Damien, Damien
Damien,
McGeehan.
he recorded his pieces in Nashville because he was out with
Yeah, he's a great fun.
Daniel O'Connor.
He was in
So
the band Fidgel with Kieran
yeah,
O'Mahony
oh
and
yeah, yeah,
Aidan
yeah, yeah.
O'Donnell. Yeah,
Great player. And we, I had these songs, list of songs, and I said, "Right, I'm going to bring them." And they says, "Yeah, that's good." So there's three, Tim Eady and Dermot Byrne. So there's three traditions. A good friend of mine, Tim O'Brien, big fan of Tim's, and
oh,
I
amazing.
always loved Pretty Fair Maid,
Yeah,
and I sang that, and I always when You're Welcome Here, Kind Stranger, Mary and the Soldier, Paul's album,
great
Bob
songs.
Diddy's album, I always heard that as a love song.
Okay,
Never, so I recorded it slower
very
with
nice.
with Tim and Dermot just, and then I'd been singing this song.
And that's something, Gino, that is important, I think, for younger artists, maybe watching it or thinking about making careers in music, that if you are going to record something that has been a hit in somebody else's world, like so Mary
Yeah.
and the Soldier, Paul Brady, Andy Irvine from the Purple album, I
hmm
mean, to redo that, you're going to have to do something different with it.
But when Brady, You Welcome Here, Kind Stranger, and Hard Station, and the Purple, that was my listening all the time.
Yeah,
It was all, that, but that song always struck a chord with me as a, I'll guard you with my right hand. I love you, you're mine.
yeah,
And then the last slow song I recorded was "The Mountains of Mourne" because that was my grandfather's favorite song, my Italian grandfather,
beautiful, beautiful.
and I sang that with Tim and Dermot, and people seem to like that one. They seem to
Well,
like
it's a
that.
cracking solo record, and you did some gigs with it, and I think you should do more. Sarah O'Mahony is saying, "When's the next album, Gino? Loving the interview. Hope to see you soon." So you need to get the finger out and get the next
Okay.
record. Barry
Uh,
Francis Stan says, "Same taste in music and same taste in wall paint.
oh, good.
Great
Well, that's
taste
very
all round."
trendy at the moment. It's called Trump Green. And you as well. You've got to see him.
Indeed, indeed.
So it's reflecting Pull Green.
Either that or it fell off the back of a lorry and was
Well,
cheap.
yeah, probably.
So, Gino, tell me today and the world of traditional music. What's good about traditional music today?
The amount of young people playing it, and uh, the amount of young people playing it and taking it, their 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 expertise in the tunes and the way they play them are super, but they're not using the biggest resource that they have is the older musicians sitting beside them to find out why it's such a good tune or why it goes like that or what why do them three polkas work and they don't they're fine tuning it so much that they sometimes forget that it's traditional music. Do you know what I mean? It's not a slight on them at all. It's just I think that they should be more aware and more open to talking to older musicians. Like I'm sure the brother has some great stories and
Yeah.
things
And
about
I think that's good
and
advice.
Tim
I mean,
McKean
the,
you and me and Jerry O'Connor and Cal Hayden and
I think
our,
the one of the strengths of the Four Men and a Dog is that you all drew on the resource of older. So, say for example, we spoke earlier on about
yeah.
Arnie
hmm
McGlynn, about Seamus O'Kane, about
Yeah.
John Hayden, Cahill's
John
father would have
Hayden,
had
yeah.
a big influence. And
And
so,
Donal Murphy is a sponge for tunes. Donal's father was a great musician as well.
yeah. So to draw on the older generation. Uh, what's the biggest advice you would give any young musician today? Want to start a band, and I know you're going to come to TradFest
I'm
this year.
going
You're
to
going
do
to
that
teach the
in
bodhrán.
TradFest, but I've just started to make notes for that. But
Yeah, so you're
uh,
going to teach the bodhrán for the summer school for the week long, but you're also going to give a talk or a discussion, like an open
yeah,
floor discussion with
uh,
Ailish Sutherland, the great small piper from Scotland, to give a
yeah,
different Scottish perspective
yeah.
on how to go about starting a band. So where do you start?
Well, the first thing is now when we started, it was in Brian McGrath's kitchen in Astillan. But when now it's social media and it's everywhere. So we have to embrace that. Young bands have to embrace that. They also have to embrace uh, being humble enough to accept criticism. And and being just turning up on time, having your instruments ready. Don't be on the stage drunk. Don't be. It's show business for a reason. Gone are the days where you'd walk on with 2 or 3 pints and the clothes you were playing in the last 3 nights. That's gone. There has to be something better, and you have to have some pride in what you do.
Yeah.
You have to have some. It was like my uncle always told me. He says, "Do a good job, and you can go back to it at any time."
Yeah, good advice. Well, look,
So
we'll not give away too much of that talk because we
no,
want people to come along. That'll be a fascinating because you'll be given an insight into the many, many years experience that you have. What's the funniest thing that ever happened on the road?
the funkiest thing or the funniest thing?
Whatever one you
Oh
want.
no. Maybe at the Olympics in Atlanta.
What
We were
happened there?
playing. We were playing, and right beside Ted Turner's CNN CNN tower where his penthouse was, and it was the first time we had ever seen uh, uh, deaf interpreters doing it for deaf people and stuff like that. And I said to him, "Do you have to say everything that I say?" He says, "Yeah, I do." And so that was all right. We were playing, and there was us, and there was 3 or 4 different bands. There was a girl called Teresa Hightower. She was a blues singer. Oh God Almighty, what a voice! And Rita Coolidge used to come to our gigs, and we'd sing with her. And she was married to Chris Christopherson. But one day, I said to the sign artist, I says, "You have to say everything." She says, "Yeah." So I turned around and looked way up to the penthouse, and I shouted, "Jane, this is for you." He was married to Jane Fonda at the time. "Jane, this is for you," and everybody started laughing. And your man had to do the sign language to it. And then we met. It's taken us everywhere. The bodhrán and the music has taken us to the Olympics, to Sydney, to
Is
you
there
know.
anything left that you'd like to do? Anything like you'd like to achieve? Anything, anywhere you'd like to go, or anyone you'd
I
like to
I
meet?
as I get older now. I sort of, when I reminisce, I was a great man for photographs at the time, and I have them all. But I would love uh, when we were at our height to really appreciate some of the things we did. Some of the gigs that we did do, like the gigs with the band in London, or uh, getting people just I don't know. The place I'd like to go back to, I think, is Canada. I'd like to give Canada one more go.
Okay.
Just
What
I
did you like
love
about
Canada.
Canada?
I just thought it was great. I've from Calgary on to Canmore and to Yellowstone and stuff. It's just beautiful country and great people and great music, really good music.
Yeah.
And I've been out in Nova Scotia with Liz Doherty, and she's another child prodigy out there. Everybody just her and Natalie McMaster are two goddesses out there. They just
Yeah,
walk
yeah.
around. But that's what I do, and I would maybe just soak up a wee bit more of the culture rather than, oh my head.
One of the great times that I had with you, Gino, over the years, and we're going back now to like 2013 and the first flagpole
Oh
coming
God,
north
up in Derry.
up in Derry City, yeah. And Gifted Empire Productions were running gigs in the Empire here in Belfast, and they started doing like a live stream, a multicam live stream. Paul McKay,
Paul
the
McKay, yeah.
producer and director, and Paul went for a tender at the Flagpole in Derry to live stream a 1 hour lunchtime show on the internet. And he came to me and he said, "Look, we've got this tender to do a 1 hour live show. Can you help me line up some music for it and maybe be like a music producer on it?" And in our chats and in the development of it, it was decided to pitch it to TG Carr and to see if we could make like a TV program of it, a live TV program. And of course, when you come to a broadcaster very late in the day, they're going to say to you, "Look, there's no money," and
Mhm.
that was the case. There's no budget. But what they did do was they gave us a sat truck to get the program up into the skies and up onto the screens. And they gave us 3 hours a night for 5 nights. And in the development of that program, which has now gone on to be, a huge success for TG4 Flat TV. But in the first year, it was called Flat Live. We brought in a couple of presenters, and we brought in Lynette Fay, and we brought in Sheila Ní Bhraonáin from
Oh,
TG4,
Sheila.
and we brought in yourself.
Oh, some crack.
And the thinking behind that, Gino, was you're of the county, so you're of the place, but that you're a brilliant entertainer and that you would spark fun, vibrancy, boldness. I remember, I remember it's quite a bit of boldness. I remember you and I did a trad take of the Undertones.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, Billy wanted to start a band.
Billy Doherty, the
Billy
drummer from
Doherty
the
wanted to
Undertones.
start
Yeah.
a traditional Undertones band.
Yeah,
That's right.
and with Paul Casey, we did a trad take on their hit song. But I remember you also we had some difficult sort of hurdles to overcome in the making of that program, and one was we had to find a way to make an interview with the PSNI kind of
Oh my
entertaining.
God. Do you remember that?
Can you tell us about that?
Oh, geez, that was wild. You like we were all privy to that, and there was question. You can't say this, you can't say that, and it was a very dry. I said I didn't interview him. I didn't give a shit, and it was very yes and no, and all that. And yeah, we've got 300 police or PSNI on the streets and community. Yeah, whatever. And it was going nowhere. It was just it was all you know straight down. Right, that's the way it is. And I said something about that.
I remember what you said.
Well, do tell me, because it
You
was about
you said you said I think he was like the chief superintendent of the
yeah.
Northwest, and he was trying to keep it all very straight faced and very sensible. And you said to him, us Italians and you cops have something in common. And he said, of course, not knowing where this conversation was going, live on television, said, no. And you said, we make ice creams and you eat them.
I saw two lovely policewomen eating them ice creams. That's right.
That's right.
And we did the theme music for it as well. You
Yeah,
and I
you and I,
recorded
yeah,
it
we
together.
spent a day in my studio and we did the theme music for the opening credits. You can find it. I think it's up on YouTube if you search
And what
Flat
was
Flat
it?
Light opening credits. And we
Screaming
used
Wings and ice cream cones.
Yeah, we used your boron as a bed loop, and I played the Derry hornpipe,
God,
and we used a sample of Brian Mullen saying "one singer, one song,"
that's right, Moat.
and then Moat Mullen, yeah, and I since heard that. Do you know why Moat Mullen is called Moat Mullen?
Oh yeah, that's history because he's always around the castle.
Yeah, the Castle Bar in Derry, yeah. And you then said something about screaming winds and ice cream
Screaming
cones.
Wings and ice cream cones.
Yeah, yeah, that was a lot of
Oh,
fun.
that was good fun. That was sort of, and then singing. The other one of my highlights was singing with Brona Gallagher.
Yeah. Great Brother Gallagher
Good,
from Jerry.
good crack.
Yeah.
And,
Well, obviously, Flat TV has gone on to great things, and it's going to be in Belfast this year during Flat Cole. And obviously, we've got like 2 whole weeks of trad here in the city. It's a trad takeover.
oh,
You wouldn't have believed that when you were back playing the folk festival 30
not
years
at
ago.
all. Or in the Sunflower Club or anything like that. Not at all. But again, as we started this conversation, you and your team deserve so much credit, for the life and the musicians in Belfast that it's completely different city. Don't like I saw bits of it from them high rises we were in the other day. I couldn't even recognize it. I
Yeah.
couldn't even. It's just the most vibrant city,
Well,
and it's great.
I,
And
it's
you
very
do
kind of you
deserve
to
credit
say
for
that, but I tell people that it's just an incredible time to be alive in this city because
it.
we've had so many wonderful things that like TG Ceathair Graham Ceol was here for 3 4 years, the BBC Radio 2 Folk Awards was here,
Yeah,
the MTV Awards was here many years ago, but there are like Celtic Media Festival Awards here at the minute. The Oireachtas came here last November, and then
yeah.
Fleadh Ceol is coming 2 years running, and it's a sign that the world has. Um,
It's a sign that we've grown up.
Yeah, well, the
And
word is a newfound confidence in Belfast, and that we have a confidence to project to the world, and we're welcoming and we're
but
inviting.
it's like like yourself, Donald. I've done a lot of traveling in my life, but it would rank with any of the cities, any of the main cities that I've been to.
Yeah,
And the other thing that sticks out is the friendliness. Believe it or not, I know that could be, but it's the friendliness of the people.
yeah.
And
People are great, and they just really want that anyone that comes here to this city goes away saying, what a great place, what a great
hmm
people, what a
hmm
great welcome, what great energy." And there's
I
an
I
edge.
remember I remember doing when I was doing flat TV in Derry, walking around, and I met this wee woman, and it gives me goosebumps every time I think about it. She met an American who was backpacking, and she was taking him home because she said if my son was somewhere, I'd want my son to to get a clean bed and clean clothes. So I'm just paying it forward. And
Yeah.
I think Belfast, Irish people in general are like that, 100%.
Well, look, we've gone way over. Gino, I asked you to do
As
like
usual,
a
Donald.
40-minute chat, and here we are an hour and 10 minutes into it. I'm going to ask you a couple of quick fire questions just to wrap. Um,
Oh, shit, go
so,
ahead.
your favorite venue you've ever played in the world?
Favorite venue I ever played in the world? The Birchmere in Alexandria, Washington, D.C.
Why?
Because there's a big, big, long tunnel into it. And James Taylor played there. Sean Colvin played there. Bonnie Raitt played there. So Gino Lupari and Four Men the Dog played there. So
Brilliant.
that's somewhere.
Favorite session memory ever?
Favorite session memory. I talked about it the other day on the Belfast Telegraph interview. We were playing, and I saw the five fiddlers on the one bow, and it was. I used to get session here. I called it session here. I'd come home from the session, and for 2 days later, all I could hear was tunes.
Yeah.
And that visual still sticks with me of all the fiddlers on the same bow, and it was just so powerful. It
Where
was
was this?
amazing. I think it might have been, believe it or not, in Oma.
Okay.
I think so now.
Yeah, it's great when you get an image like that that locks.
It,
What
but it ties everything in for me.
best advice you've ever received
Musically or from the world.
in any way?
Well, that my father said to me one time, don't think you're tough because there's a tougher man around the corner.
Good advice.
And he says, don't give people a hard time because once you close the door, they don't know what they're going through. So give
Good
everybody the
advice.
benefit of the doubt. That's what I was always brought up with.
What's the worst boron joke you've ever heard?
Uh, well, obviously, oh yeah. Uh, I don't. The obvious one, play it with pen knives. I don't know if I have heard a really bad one. Well, maybe there is a bad one, but nobody's ever told me. Have
What's the
you got
best
one?
one? Well, there's lots of them. What's the difference between a boron and an onion, Gino? You don't cry when you're cutting a boron. There's lots of them like that. Boron gets a hard time, doesn't it?
It does. It's like how do you know a drummer's level, a drummer's stage is level? The slabbers running out of both sides of his mouth.
Okay, but keep going with this. Give us one album everybody should listen to.
One album everybody should listen to: Van Morrison live in San Francisco.
Okay, very good. One trad album everybody should listen to.
Jerry O'Connor band, Jerry Banjo, uh, Funk the Cajun Blues.
That's a great record. Yeah, I
hmm
love I love all his records. Time to Time is another great record.
That's the one I'm thinking about. Funk the Cajun Blues was on that, wasn't it?
Oh, Time to Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a record. Yeah.
Bottom
Um,
line.
what's the other one he did? It was kind of bluegrassy. Something Home. Brilliant record
Oh
with
yeah, coming
Brendan
home.
O'Regan. Yeah.
Brandon. Yeah.
The Bones or the Spoons.
Oh, the Bones.
Jigs or Reels.
Reels.
Recording studio or live stage.
Live stage.
County Derry or County Antrim?
Derry,
Guinness or whiskey?
Guinness.
Okay. And give us one word to describe the upcoming, or you can use more than one word, I'd say, the upcoming Four Men and a Dog gig at the Mandela Hall at Belfast TradFest on Saturday, the 1st of August.
Interesting. And my favorite tunes to play are slides.
Slides, why is that?
Slide. I love them.
Yeah,
I
12 days.
love them. I remember recently just playing some tunes with Jackie Daly down in Killarney, and he was saying, God, he says, Ringo loves the old slides too.
So something that Boran Clare gets his teeth into is the
Yeah,
slides.
just that. Oh.
Yeah.
I was talking the other day in that interview we did, and when the wee boy says, the 12-year-old, drive it like you stole it.
Well, listen, on that note, we'll just ask, like, what would the 25-year-old Gino Lupari or the mature student who was going to Ulster University make of what you've achieved and the experiences you've had since?
Wow. I wouldn't change it for the world. Not for the world. I wouldn't change anything that musically for the world. It's made me who I am.
Yeah.
Made me the
Well,
person I am.
I think that's a good enough testimony for any young musician or any not so young musician to take on board. And Gino, really, really thank you so much. I'm looking forward to you teaching at the summer school. People can find more information on belfasttradfest.com. You'll be there for 5 days teaching Born alongside the great Robbie Harris,
Robbie,
Amy
Dr.
Farrell
Robbie.
Courtney, Fergal O'Brien, and a few other tutors.
Mm-hmm.
You'll also be taking part in some of the sessions.
I'm down in Madden's, down with my friend in Madden's.
Bamber, yeah, the
Bamber.
great Bamber, the best pub in town, many would say.
Oh,
And
without a doubt.
you're in also in the Flutopia concert with many of the great flute players,
Yeah, that'll be
Sylvan
interesting.
Bahu.
That's why when I played with Little Etienne the other night, my favorite instrument to play with is the flute.
Yeah, Etienne Murphy, brilliant young flute player, who
Oh,
Gino performed with at the launch. She's a bright prospect.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
She really just stuck me to the spot. I couldn't believe it.
yeah, she's a great
It
player.
was really something special.
Also in that Flutopia concert, we'll have Mike McGoldrick, we'll have Patrick Davey, we'll have Emer Flannery, we'll have Sylvan Bahu, we'll have
Oh,
John Blake.
Sylvan coming, that's right, Sylvan
Yeah,
coming.
yeah, lots of great musicians. So that'll be in the Black Box on the Monday night of the Belfast TradFest. So lots to see and do. Tickets
Oh,
available on
absolutely.
the.
And, come up and say hello. I'll always be about. Be great to see you.
Really looking forward to having you around in the university for the week, Gino. You bring such positivity and
Uh,
good fun and joy, and it's been great to chat with you. So thanks a million, and we'll talk soon.
Mind yourself, Donald.
See you,
Good
bye.
luck. Bye-bye.